You know Pete Thamel?
I do know Pete Thamel.
He's on a podcast the other day and says that his power rankings of expansion to the SEC, number 1, Virginia. He believes the SEC's next move would be Virginia before they go after Clemson and Florida State. He says as well that...
Okay, there's one reason I can think of, but...
It's Virginia and North Carolina they would want. And I've also heard that Virginia wants to take Virginia Tech. They're tied at the hip. Those two teams want to go. They would want to go together. They'd need to go together.
State wants that to happen.
Legislature, yeah. So, as we've been talking about Florida State being the catalyst to destroy the ACC and how they're going to leave and Clemson's going to leave and NC State's going to leave and UNC is going to leave and Miami's going to leave and all that, now the prevalent rumor is... Virginia to the SEC per Pete Thamel. This is a possibility. And what's more, that the Big 12 could be in talks currently with Jim Phillips and the ACC of a merger, a scheduling merger to bring the two conferences together and just do what is inevitable, and that is consolidation. The word consolidation is what this is. And now you'd have a much more defined regionality to the conference. You could build pods. You could build 6 teams here, 6 teams here, 6 teams here, and 6 teams there. That would work. And honestly, rather than the Big 12 poaching certain teams from the ACC, now with the opportunity of adding Washington State and Oregon State again because those teams are profitable, Washington State is profitable, there's a real path here to Brett Yormark, who I do believe is in the driver's seat in this.
He's holding the cards here.
Building America's first true super conference. You could argue the Big Ten is there, but I would say a 25-team conference would be the first true super conference in this country.
That would do it. Yeah. So, okay, let's start back from the beginning here with Virginia and the SEC. So, I mean, the only thing I could think of, and this is no small point when it comes to specifically the Clemson and Florida State side of this argument, even more so than the Virginia side, is the SEC, so much of this comes down to media markets, right? Guess what, Drake?
Yep.
SEC already has those markets.
True.
They've got South Carolina. They've got Florida. They don't need that. They don't need that media market. They don't need that recruiting base. They already have it.
Yeah.
And they have member schools who are going to want to block that move. And Virginia is, I mean, you get DC. Okay. It's a huge alumni base for UVA in DC. Okay. Already, that's a better deal for the SEC right there. And North Carolina, as much as I personally hate that university, one heck of an athletic program to bring in. The branding, the alumni base, the fan base in general, and you get Charlotte, which you might have had a good stake in anyway.
Yeah.
That's a nice one to have, North Carolina. So if I'm Virginia, do I want to do that? I mean, yes, at the end of the day, because of the lucrative money it brings your school, but you're never going to compete in football. And I guess the argument would be, well, they weren't doing that in the ACC anyway.
Nope, they weren't.
So you might as well. So that would be interesting, man. It just seems so slam dunk from afar to say, well, if anyone's going from the ACC that any conference is going to want, it's Florida State, it's Miami, it's Clemson. No way. No way.
Yeah.
So does the Big Ten still go after those guys?
I think we're at a spot here where the prevalent rumor is that the Big Ten would build a contract to bring in Florida State and Clemson.
Because for those same reasons, it makes a lot more sense for the Big Ten.
It's going to take a lot of money to do that. And the Big Ten has shown that it doesn't matter. The regional divide doesn't matter here. That's not what they're looking out for, is regionality. They just want to be as big and bad as possible and bring in as much money, which makes a lot of sense. You can't really blame them for that. In this scenario, though, what was crazy already has gotten even crazier with the idea the Big 12 can expand eastward and not have to do it by poaching teams, not have to do it with a lack of stability, but can just work out a deal with the ACC commissioner. And I want to reemphasize the best point with this. The Big 12's in the driver's seat. Brett Yormark's
much like they were with those Pac-12 teams.
Yeah, the Big 12's not begging.
Where are you guys going to go
to do this? The Big 12's not begging. Oh, we need these teams to stay alive. They can go poach, or they can create a deal that's much smoother, and that's what seems likely right now.
Yeah. Well, you think Duke's going to join the American? No,
might I remind
we're
you,
your only option here.
We were in a spot 3 years ago where the Big 12 was going to fall apart altogether, where we were saying goodbye to the conference. Texas and OU left. Will Oklahoma State go to the Pac-12? Will TCU go to the Pac-12? Will the religious affiliation, the Bible Belt nature of the Big 12
more likely Baylor to the American?
Keep these teams out of a power conference like the Pac-12 because Cal and Stanford didn't want to play with the religious schools, the Southern schools, the truck stop conference. And then we went from that to Bob Bowlesby saying deuces and as his parting gift, bringing you BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. And then Brett Yormark says, oh, sweet. Anything you can do, I can do better. He goes and grabs Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, who were a part of a conference that, mind you, at the time, could have stayed together. Mm-hmm. They were in the same spot the Big 12 was when Texas and OU left. They were in the same spot.
You were just losing your big boys, but that was it.
And then Yormark said, you know what? Instead of giving you the leeway of we can rebuild this league, let me take this. Are you going to eat that? I should have gotten that. I'm joking.
Give me that.
I'm joking. He goes in and takes what he wants out of the Pac-12, and he's going to do the same thing with the ACC. He has said that expansion isn't necessarily done, but that he's pro-consolidation and that whatever makes the most sense for the league moving forward is something he's going to do. The real people pulling the strings here, it's not Brett Yormark, it's not Jim Phillips, it's not the ACC, the Big 12, it's not even the SEC or Greg Sankey. It's ESPN.
Yep.
It's Fox.
Well, yeah.
It's the TV money. It's that is making this whole thing go round. And I can tell you, if ESPN sees, oh, Clemson's leaving, Florida State's leaving, UNC is leaving, Virginia's leaving, the ACC, there is not enough money there to keep that current contract where it is.
Right.
The addition of Calford and SMU is not going to bring you revenue that makes up for that. So in a reworked deal, it's going to be, oh, we're going to pay you a lot less.
Yeah, and if I'm Pitt, they're going to want to renegotiate.
If I'm Pitt, I'm not putting up with that. Yeah. I'm Louisville, I'm not putting up with that. I'm going somewhere else where I can make money. And that's when you come to the Big 12.
And you know what I thought about when I saw this rumor coming about this morning, really, when I saw it, is from a football standpoint, if that happened, let's just say that. All these ACC schools come in, you got 25, 24 schools. The Brett Yormark can do something brilliant.
Yeah.
And that is...
rebrand to the Big 24.
Do 4 pods or whatever it is.
Okay.
Let's say it's 4 pods.
Of 6. 4 pods of 6, effectively.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just play this out. 4 pods of 6. And Brett Yormark should say, what if I end my regular season for football a week early and put a semifinal of the Big 12 and then a championship game of the Big 12?
Idea.
Yes.
Across the room, idea across the room.
Yes.
That's what Charlie Baker is saying you can do.
Yes.
What Charlie Baker said the last week
that's one of the actual benefits.
I want to give these teams autonomy. Do what you want. Create your own.
Was there something that said a conference couldn't do that anyway? Because the Big 12 didn't have a championship game for years.
I bet there's something written in there. But Charlie Baker's saying, make your own rules, create your own compensation, create your own transfer portal. Just do what you want to do. Get out of my hair. Instead of breaking away from the NCAA, we're going to give you extreme autonomy. So the Big 12 could do that.
Yeah, and you that's the thing. You end it early so you don't add any games because it's going to be a crazy number for college football playoff teams anyway. And then it becomes a different issue. But then think about the money that championship games drive for a conferse. And you say, I'm going to give you 3 of them.
It's a great way to decide a champion.
I'm going to give you 3 of them. And it's so maybe it's during rivalry week and it's not great for the networks, but you're gonna have a semifinal no matter what on ESPN or CBS or Fox. You're gonna put them at night, and that is gonna be jumping, man. You put them at neutral sites in different parts. So you get your ACC teams. Okay, you play that one in Charlotte, or your Southern ACC teams. You play it in Tallahassee or Jacksonville, and then you meet in Arlington or Kansas City or whatever it is. That would just set them apart from every other conference in that aspect. Yeah. It's not going to be the best conference in football, of course, but you'll have something that no other conference has.
Beautiful.
Wasn't that a great idea?
You're a genius. Did you just think about that on your own?
This morning, I was driving here, and I was like, well, that would just be such a mess. How do you do it with 25 teams? How do you do a conference champion? Do you have to go back to 1 and 2 and whatever? And I'm like, well, no, you don't, because there's nothing Like, what would stop Brett Yormark from doing that?
And
Other than NCAA rules.
It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Tom Fornelli's talking about it. Pete Thamel's talking about it. Former Florida State presidents are talking about it.
Yeah.
This isn't these guys are blowing hot air up your skirt. They're just talking about a hypothetical situation. No, Brett Yormark said it this week. I am pro-consolidation. The word expansion in itself is a misnomer. Mm-hmm. This is about consolidation. Yes. How tight can we make college football to make the biggest impact and the most amount of money? That's what Charlie Baker wants to do too. I think those two guys. Yormark said,
and I think the network is going to want that. By the way,
he is pro Charlie Baker this week. He said, "We have elected Charlie to do his job, and he is doing his job." That was Yormark's response to Baker saying, "Hey, we need it." When Sankey's response was, "I wish you would run it across my desk," Yormark's was, "He is doing his job." That shows me that Brett Yormark is interested in one thing, and that's money. He's not a college football traditionalist, but guess what? That means that Baylor doesn't get left behind. That means that Oklahoma State doesn't get left behind. TCU doesn't get left behind. That those schools who we thought when Texas and OU left would be at the bottom of the barrel, and that was the intention. Texas and OU weren't worried about the future of those programs.
They didn't care.
Most people didn't. It was about money. ESPN didn't care. Now, those teams will be in a more advanced spot, they'll be better set for the future than the SEC if the first power conference is created with the ACC and the Big 12 and even Washington State and Oregon State.
I think it would be great for the networks too.
Yeah.
Now you have 3 major conferences. Well, you've got more or less 3 major networks. I know it's not 1964, but you know what I mean? Like 3 major networks that are putting out college football regularly.
Yeah.
And you just war with each other. There you go. Everyone wins. So yeah, I still worry about the new subdivision and what that does competition-wise and what you're playing for. But I'd be all about this consolidation, all about it.
Yep.
And you're still, if you're a Big 12 fan, that you're worried like, well, I don't care about Baylor playing Georgia Tech. I want them to play Texas Tech. Well, there still are.
Yeah.
In fact, that might actually help you.
It might be more likely. It may be more likely you play Texas Tech.
We complained about the regional thing and how there's only one protected rivalry in Texas, and you're going to miss out on Tech or Houston every couple of years. This is going to help that because you'll have to put it in a pod. You'll have to.
Coming up.
Boy, that would be fun.
I love it. I love it. Baylor survived.
Duke all the time.
And this is the best way to build regionality, is to have so many teams in one conference that you have to put all the teams. It can no longer be Baylor's going to play West Virginia or UCF. Now it's, there are enough teams around them. It would only make sense for them to play those teams around them. I love that. And it gives West Virginia teams that are close. Their closest game to drive to this year was 6 hours. Closest game. That's awful.
Bring back Pitt.
You're going to fix that.
The backyard brawl.
You're going to fix that.